Your husband snaps at you when you ask him a simple question, or he doesn't notice the nice things that you do. And his idea of an apology is fine, sorry. I used to think this meant that he was just a jerk, but after working with women and couples for years and going through what I experienced in my own relationship, I discovered it was actually less about his attitude. There is actually a hidden pattern that's running in your marriage right now that's making everything he does feel 10 times worse. And the more that this pattern continues, the more it slowly destroys connection and it actually increases the crappy things that your husband is doing. I am Lindsay. This is Loving with Intention. Let's dive in so I can show you exactly what the pattern is and the simple shift that helps the women I work with transform their marriages. If you want to look forward to seeing your husband walk through the door at the end of the day and you want to feel so good, then you are in the right place. So you know that feeling when you are lying in bed at the end of the night and you are replaying all the frustrating things that happened in the day. Your husband's asleep next to you and you're thinking about the way he barely looked up from his phone when you were talking to him, or how you tried to tell him about your stressful day at work and he brushed it off like you're overreacting, or the way he snapped at you when you asked if he grabbed the groceries after work. There you are, tossing and turning, thinking he is such a jerk. I get it so deeply. I have been there, lying awake, feeling completely alone, wondering how my relationship turned into an endless cycle of frustration, wishing that it did not feel like this. In this very moment when you were lying in bed, this invisible force is at work, making things so much worse. So back in the really hard days of my relationship when things were bad before we broke up and then got back together, I didn't realize that our brains work exactly like our social media feeds. True story. So you know how once you're on Instagram and you interact with a post, you click like on it, you watch the reel, you read the caption, so you spend some time there. Now your entire feed is full of similar content, just like my feed is full of stuff about relationships and cats. So that is the Instagram algorithm, and your brain literally has its own algorithm, and it is not random. You program it. Right now, it is likely programmed to show you every single moment that proves that your husband is unappreciative, difficult, inconsiderate, rude. So let me explain this more. This algorithm is thanks to your reticular activating system, which is your RAS, and we are not going to get too sciencey here because that's not my jam, but I am obsessed with the RAS, and I do want to tell you exactly how it works and how you can change your algorithm and your entire relationship. Your brain is processing millions of pieces of information every single second, but you can only consciously process about 40 of those pieces. So 40 of the millions. Your RAS has to act like a filter, that's its job, deciding what's important enough to bring to your attention and what it needs to filter out. And the wild part that we have to remember is, like Instagram, you are the one programming what your RAS is showing you based on the things that you focus on. So how this works in a random real life example that I've had so many times, when you learn a new word or phrase, maybe you read it in a book or you're talking to somebody and you're like, oh, I never heard that before. And they explain it to you, or you go and Google it to find out what it means. And the next thing you know, you are hearing that phrase everywhere. You hear somebody talking about it at a coffee shop. It comes up in random conversations and you're like, whoa, I just heard that phrase for the first time. Did we all just learn about this thing? The thing is, those conversations, they were always happening. People were always using this phrase. Your brain just wasn't bringing it to your attention before because you hadn't told it it was important. But now that you just learned about it, you thought about it, you told your brain, this is important to me. So this is exactly what's happening in your relationship right now. Once you started focusing on the frustrating things that your husband did or does, your brain gets the message, hey, this is really important to me. Show me more evidence of this. And now your brain is working overtime to show you every single moment that matches exactly what you're looking for. It does such a good job of finding what it thinks is important to you. The more time we spend thinking about something, we send a very clear message. This is important to me. So every time he sighs, every time he rolls his eyes, every dismissive comment that he makes, anytime he snaps at you, your brain is like, I found another one. Here you go. Here is more evidence. And it completely filters out the times he does something thoughtful or kind because that doesn't match what you're looking for. You can only take in so much information, remember, 40 things a second, which seems like a lot for a second. But your RAS is finding what's important to you. So remember at the beginning of this when I said that this pattern that we do ends up creating more crappy behaviors too. Let's get into that. Just imagine you had a rushed and annoying interaction with your husband this morning. You did a quick kiss goodbye before you left, but before that, you asked if he could grab the groceries on the way home, and he snapped at you and he was like, "That's the last thing I want to think about right now. You know how busy my day is. Why can't we just talk about it later instead of making the morning full of to-do lists and plans and all this stuff? I hate that." And now you spent the rest of the morning feeling frustrated at him. You're sitting at work, you keep grabbing your phone and looking at it, hoping that he's texted an apology or something nice, even though you know he won't. And you are in that place of thinking, he is such a jerk. So imagine your energy if your thoughts are like that on repeat. Your energy changes. You feel down, low energy. You're way more likely to get reactive with defensiveness or criticism or withdrawing. And now he calls you on lunch break. Your tone and your whole vibe when you say hello, it is impacted by what you've been focusing on, the fact that he's a jerk. So he hears the tone of your voice, he picks up on that vibe, he feels the tension, and he responds to your energy. He is so much more likely to be dismissive or short with you now. So maybe he grumbles something like, "I'll get the groceries, but I don't know why you can't do it." And your RAS is going to notice that, and it's going to be like this flashing billboard in your brain saying, "See, he's always like this. He's such a jerk." It becomes this endless, painful loop. You focus on the negative, so you see more negative. Thank you so much, RAS, for doing your job. Then you feel more upset and frustrated. You expect negative behavior because that's what you see. You show up differently because of that expectation and how you're feeling. He responds to your different energy, and his response confirms what you were looking for, and now the loop just starts again. That loop, that was how I rolled. And not only was I thinking he's such a jerk, I was telling him that. I was talking to my therapist about it, and so many people in my life. I was so focused on all of his crappy behaviors. Every time I repeated an argument or something that I was upset with to someone else, I was reinforcing to my RAS, this is what we're looking for. Show me more of this. So a little pause before we get into how to change this. I want to be crystal freaking clear. I am not saying this is your fault. I'm not saying it is your fault that he reacts in the ways that he does. We do not cause someone else's behavior or reaction. His responses are his responsibility, and you deserve all the love and for him to dive into working on himself and growing in those areas. What I am saying is that you're part of the relationship dance, and when you change your steps, the whole dance changes. You can't control his reactions, you can't make him change, but you can majorly influence the dynamic by changing what you bring to the relationship. So that's what we're looking at. And we want to bring in so much love around this. Of course you are focusing on the negative stuff. It hurts so much. When someone you love, your husband, is being dismissive or unkind, your brain is actually doing one of its other jobs, trying to protect you and prevent even more pain. It makes so much sense that you are hyper aware of these moments and that you want them to change. So having lots of self-compassion around this. So much love, so much love. So that was a super important side note. So now that we know about the negative spiral that happens, there is good news. If the RAS is powerful enough to create more negative behaviors and interactions, imagine what happens when we flip the script. When you start intentionally looking for the good stuff in your relationship, even tiny moments, you are telling your reticular activating system, hey, this is important now. And just like it did with the negative stuff, your brain will start filtering in more of those positive moments. They are there. They've just been hiding in the background because you've only been seeing what you're telling your brain to show you. We get to get intentional with this. And one tool to help you is my free Superpowered Appreciation Guide. It's one thing to, look for the good, but when you start using Superpowered Appreciations, it sends an even stronger message to your RAS that looking for the good, appreciating things is important. And honestly, if things are feeling super hard in your relationship and the last thing you want to do is give your husband a superpowered appreciation, I totally get that. So even if you just started with journaling this or saying that superpowered appreciation to yourself about him, that is still priming your RAS. So just comment super below and I will share the steps with you because it's so powerful. My clients use this. I use this. It's amazing. And now the real magic starts happening. You are looking for the good, so your energy starts to shift. Imagine that very same morning happened. He snapped at you about the groceries. You have that quick kiss goodbye. You go to work. But today you are choosing to look for the good. You think about that kiss goodbye and you're like, oh, it's nice that we still kiss goodbye. You thought about how he woke up before you and he had the coffee on. You thought about the night before when you went to bed early and he came to bed quietly so he didn't wake you up. You thought about how hard that he works. With those thoughts in your head, your energy is going to change in a positive way. It's going to have a ripple effect. Maybe you choose to text him. I appreciate that you always have the coffee on when I wake up. It is so much nicer to start my morning that way. And when he calls at lunch, you pick up the phone with a loving, calm tone, and he responds in a loving way. Maybe he says, I could totally grab the groceries after work. It's not a problem. I just could not think about it this morning. So now, instead of the negative loop, you actually create a beautiful upward spiral of goodness. I love it so much. You focus on the positive, so you start to see more positive. Thank you again, RAS, doing your job. You feel more appreciative. You feel more loving. You start to expect positive behavior because that's what you're seeing now. You show up differently because of that expectation. He responds to that energy, and his response confirms what you were looking for, and now the loop starts again. But this time, it's creating more connection, more understanding, more love, upward spiral. When you start to feel things shifting with this, it is so powerful. It can give you like this little boost of energy to just keep going. And another really important side note, appreciating the good stuff does not mean that you have to be okay with the hard stuff. I hear this worry all the time. If I start appreciating him more, he's going to think that everything's fine and nothing needs to change. But that is not what this is about. It makes so much sense that we think that. And both things can be true. You can appreciate the good and feel hurt by his unhealthy patterns. They do not erase each other. And this isn't about ignoring problems. It's actually about breaking free from a pattern that's making everything feel so much worse. It also helps to create this environment where you can actually talk about the hard things without it all going sideways because you're seeing the good. You're creating this cushion of positivity. So creating an upward spiral from looking for the good. Oh my gosh, it was a game changer in my relationship. I actually started an appreciation book. I left it on the counter. I wrote an appreciation in it every day. When I started it, I told him what I was doing. I invited him to join in if he wanted to. And I knew words of affirmation, my love language. So it's likely not going to land as strongly for him or be as easy for him to write in. But this was not about him. This was about me doing something to create a new algorithm in my brain. It got easier and easier every day to find things to appreciate. And after several pages, he started writing in it too. And it felt so good. I was so excited the first day. I would come home every day and look at it and see that there wouldn't be anything in there. And I would just recommit to the process. I am in this, I'm doing this, I'm resetting the algorithm. And then he started to write in it too. And it truly felt amazing. There was days where he would write an entire page because he hadn't written the previous week. This is what we get to do. So not only was I thinking about the good stuff now and writing these appreciations, I also started sharing positive moments with my friends. I was focusing on the thoughtful things that he did. So every time I noticed or talked about something positive, I reinforced that to my RAS. This is what we're looking for. This is what's important. So I want to help you create this positive loop in your relationship. I talk about the RAS and appreciation very early on in my love journey process with the women and couples that I work with. This is loving with intention. Ding, ding, ding. Being intentional about resetting your algorithm. And remember that you can grab the steps for superpowered appreciation by commenting super below. I will share it with you and you can hit the reset button literally today. And just imagine a month from now, you're headed to work, you're feeling connected, you see your husband pop up on your phone, your shoulders relax, you're looking forward to talking to him, there's more laughter and fun in your relationship. How amazing would that feel? And you might be thinking, is this all it takes to create a thriving relationship? Just like start looking for the good and seeing things to appreciate? Really? The answer is no, not really. And we really do need to start somewhere. And your RAS is literally waiting for you to tell it what is important to you. We get to get intentional in our relationships. And when you start here, it makes working on your relationship go so much smoother. And just picture being in a better mood every day. Your whole life gets better, the ripple effect. The truth is, he's probably not just a jerk, and your algorithm, probably his too, could use an update. And once you start priming your brain for the good, your relationship truly starts to change. I have worked with women who come to me only focusing on what's not working, of course, because it's so painful. And they're surprised when their eyes open up to many things that are going well. They start to remember why they fell in love in the first place. Sometimes, honestly, it feels super forced in the beginning when I ask them to share something they appreciate about their husband. They really have to think about it. They sit there and they have to think really hard. And then, just like in my experience, it starts to get easier and easier to name the things that they appreciate because their RAS is working for them now. One person really can change the dance in relationships. And as hard as it is to be the one who is like doing the work and going first, it's either that or staying in a negative loop. And we get to choose. So your intentional action for this week is to comment the word super below and get started on those superpowered appreciations. Prime that RAS. And then you can head to the video on the screen because there are 5 daily habits that most women are doing that completely destroy their marriage over time. And this is for real. I share in this video exactly what you can do instead. You have got this. I am sending so much love into your day. I'm so grateful that you're here. Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's start focusing on the good and have a super intentional week. Bye.